Hello, everybody. So, Jesus, I wanted this to go out a lot sooner. I wanted to get this video done a lot sooner. I've been working on trying to shoot this video and also get my little sewing done this morning. Um, but trying to get all that done for the last hour. So, um, anyway, I think I've gotten it done to the point where I can continue. There will be slight choppiness here and there. Hopefully it won't be too bad. I'm going to try not to move too quickly. My webcam is not amazing, and my microphone is fine, and I replaced the cord of my microphone, so my microphone is good, but I think eventually I'm going to have to get a new computer to handle what the webcam is doing with all the little changes and stuff, because I think it may be problems with my graphics card. So I'm using this other program that I use when I do my one-on-one tutorials, and so I will be sharing my screen with you so I can go about the tutorial in that way. Okay, so right now you should be seeing the skirt. Okay, so basically where we left off yesterday, or not, yesterday, was I finished showing you here where I put the zipper in, and then how you can chop that off at the top, and then you'll basically be done. I also just kind of basted, stitched like a quarter of an inch all the way around the waist, just so stretch much. If I need to put it on the dress form for a second, just to kind of look at my work, you know. But anyway, so I did that. The next thing I want to do is something very simple, was just to serge around the bottom edge of this. And that's so you won't have loose threads hanging there. Also, but before you do that, any of the other spots in the skirt, if you want to serge them or finish some of the seam allowances or something, it's perfectly up to you. It's not something that you have to wait on, just waiting to see if, oh, this skirt's going to do that, yada, yada. I mean, if you're following along with me, this is your skirt too. So anyway, I'll try to keep this moving because some other stuff I got to do this evening, because this has taken a ridiculously long amount of time just trying to get the video to do right. Anyway, next, so after I do that, so now we're going to do the waistband. And the waistband is pretty much going to be what we're going to get done in this video. I've done a waistband video in the past, but the skirt was a very dark gray color, and then my camera wasn't that great, so it looks like I was working on a black skirt in very bad lighting, and so you couldn't see any of the details. So I'm just going to explain it again here. Basically, what I did was I took my skirt, and I had some scrap pieces of fabric left from when I cut the skirt out yesterday, and this is basically just a long piece of fabric. This is the selvage for both layers, so the top layer and the bottom layer, because this is how the fabric was sitting when I cut the pieces out over on this side. And hopefully you see my house, so you'll know what I'm pointing to. Anyway, so yeah, basically what I did, instead of trying to make a new pattern or anything, I want to just get it done as quickly and as simply as possible. I took the skirt and I just kind of put it up next to this piece of fabric. Okay, and also, like I said, the straight grain is going left and right now. And the up down grain, it's the cross grain, the way we're looking at it. Anyway, I put it up here and I was basically just going to wing it as far as the waistband goes. And it turned out okay. This is basically what we're working towards in this video. Just like a binding. I didn't do bias cut. I want to do bias cut, but in order to save a little bit of fabric, I just used the piece that was already done. And then I'm also going to show you how to do this little tab that I have on there that kind of sits behind this. Just like in men's trousers, you'll see a little tab back there, okay? Anywho, let's continue because I know this video is probably being all choppy and evil. Okay, so next. So what I basically did, I took the skirt and I moved it over to this edge. And then wherever the skirt kind of ended, I went maybe like an inch or two out from that. And then I made a little snip in my fabric. And then I tore the fabric off. And you can see that here. This is what it looks like after I tore it, and this is what it looked like before I tore it. But I did it to both layers, so that way I would have that done. Then I did want to sew with the selvage on the waistband, just because I wanted to be just a little bit more exact. We don't have a lot of to work with the waistband because it's only going to be 2 inches wide. So I came an inch from the selvage. I used my finger as my ruler. I came an inch from the selvage, made another snip, and then I took it and I tore it. The snips that you make, if you want to tear fabric, the snip need to be at least about a half an inch into the fabric. So if you're gonna snitch, make sure if you're gonna snip, make sure it's half an inch into the fabric. That way when you actually start to pull it, it's gonna tear correctly like you want it to. And you can only tear with the straight grain and with the cross grain. You can't tear diagonally. You gotta really mess it up. Okay. Anyway, so I tore my selvages off. So this is an example snip that I did. I tore my selvage off on both pieces. So now this is what it looks like. Now the selvage is torn off. Okay. Then, like I said a second ago, our waistband is only going to be what do you call it? 2 inches wide. Because it's going to be a ½ inch allowance and then a ½ inch on the front side, ½ inch on the back side, and then a ½ inch seam allowance that's tucked on the inside. Okay. So it's 2 inches total. And then it's also going to sew together on the center front. So I'm going to have a little seam on the center front. Okay. So next, this is where I took my ruler and I just made another little snip. I also actually made this a tad bit wider than 2 inches. Just because when you're folding and going over the fabric, I use a little bit of that 2 inches. A little bit more of that 2 inches than you can see it. So, I mean, maybe like, if you want to be exact, like an eighth of an inch wider than 2 inches, okay? But just a smidget wider, and then I snipped again, and then I tore that. So I tore both pieces so that this is what I came out with, two strips like this. And each of them, like I said, in order to figure out how long, I just put the skirt next to the fabric, and then I just made sure I cut it maybe like an inch or two wider, probably about 2 inches wider than what I needed, because I'm just going to kind of pin it in place and then snip off the ends, okay? So this is how I found a piece of fabric that was 8 inches on the top edge to about 6 inches on this side edge, okay? It's a nice little square piece of fabric, so about 8 by 6. Then I folded it in half. So it was like this, and then I folded it in half, okay? So that this is the 8-inch edge, and this is the edge that was 6 inches, and now it's about 3 inches. And then what I did, I don't mind myself on this part, because we're actually going to measure from here where the fabric actually starts, and where the fabric is thicker at. So I measure from here over ½ inch, okay? And then I drew a ½ inch allowance there. This is kind of making this little pattern on the fly, right on the fabric, okay? The top edge is going to be the folded edge that I have. It's going to be this top edge of this, the top edge of that there, okay? So then I want this to be about 2 inches wide, I guess you could call it. So I went from here over an inch, over another inch, and then there we go. So out here is where my seam is going to be. So then I made marks there. Oh, sorry. So I drew also against the bottom of this ruler here to make this area an inch wide. Because no, I don't want to think of it to be an inch wide. So that's this end here. That's about an inch wide there. But I didn't want it to be rectangular, and just be like a little piece that stuck out like that. So I'll show you how I did that in just a second. But in order to get this part, I just did that. This is 1 inch wide, and then went down. From here to here is 2 inches. And then I made the marks there, and came over from here 2 inches. I made a mark. So this is going to be flush with our center back. And then we get here. So the little marks I made are going to go are here and here. And then I drew a line just to connect all of it. So then I can move over and say, now I've added a seam allowance from here to here. Okay. Then what I did, this is the part where I don't want that piece that I'm making now, that little tab, to be rectangular. So I don't just use this. So I added this triangular area so it could be smaller on the end, and then it could be a little wider where it connects in the seam allowance, okay? So this is our next seam line, and then we draw our seam allowance ½ inch from that, okay? Now the only what we're actually going to use is this and basically that. So this triangular area, or trapezoidal, or if that's the word, trapezoid shaped area creates this right here, okay? And everything, the area that I'm telling you is the seam allowance, is everything that goes past the center back. Kind of hard to see because light. I'll show you again in a second. Okay. So this is what it looks like once I cut it out. So you got your seam allowance area here. This is going to line up with your center back, right, with the zipper teeth and all that. Okay. This is going to be sewn up and flipped on the inside. This is going to be sewn up and flipped on the inside. Okay. So this is what it looks like after I sewed it. Okay. And then we need to kind of cut some of this fullness out. So if you cut from here to this line here, it's going to take that little extra that's going to be poking out of here once you flip it up. And then I'm going to show you how to cut this extra in here too. That's just another close up. Okay, so this is showing you when I flip this up, then I flip this up, what it looks like afterwards. So if you can kind of visualize from where these two pieces intersect here, and you think go in this direction, you want to cut out anything that goes across this little connecting line. So from this piece, anything that goes over this direction, we're going to cut out. And then from this piece, anything that goes over this direction, past the little diagonal thing, we're going to cut out. Okay. So that way you just have, it's going to sit flatter once you actually tuck these inside, once you actually tuck these inside of this piece. Okay. So this is a piece I sewed it up. You can see it's the same as this. Okay. And what I did was to make this point on the end very pointy, I just took a pin and I just kind of put it in there where it was trying to hide, and I pulled it out so that it could be pointy. I could have done a little better with this end, but it wasn't super confirmed, so I didn't do it. But you can definitely do it. Okay, and this is what the piece looks like. I just started that in. You can kind of see my pencil marks underneath here. This is where it's going to line up with this center back. Okay, this having area, the seam allowance is going to go into the fabric. This is going to be the end that sticks out, just like this. Okay. So now this is where I went back to those two strips of fabric that made the waistband. So I basically, you may see that here there's a little center seam that I did. And then we have the two pieces of fabric going opposite direction. And what I did was I folded it in half and ironed it, or I ironed that crease. Because this is going to be the crease that basically makes up the top edge of your waistband. Now what you can also do, one of these sides, just one of the sides, you can stitch a 1/2 inch seam allowance. That is the side that you're going to tuck under last, okay? The side without the seam allowance stitched on it is the side that you're actually going to sew to your waistband first. It's going to sew to the right side of your waistband, and then you're going to flip it up and flip it over, and then tuck the end with the seam allowance stitch on it up underneath. And the way you know how much to tuck underneath is because you already stitched the seam allowance on it, right? That makes it so much easier. So now this is an example of what it looks like after I've pinned it some, and then the seam allowance has been stitched on this other end. So the end without the seam allowance, just to reiterate, that is the side that's actually going to be stitched first. And this is the skirt. And so you're going to place it right against the front of the skirt, not on the inside, on the outside of the skirt, the front of the skirt. Okay, so this is, I know that sounds a little complicated because this is the back that we're looking at. This is the center back here with the teeth. And I have a notch there. Now, how did I get a notch there? Basically what I did was I took that center seam and I lined it up with my center front. Okay. So your center seam is going to act as your first notch. And then you're just going to gradually pin it into place until you get to your side seam. Then you're going to snip another little notch. Then you're going to pin it in place a little bit more until you get to your center back where your zipper teeth are. And then you're going to make another notch. Now, something to also notice, this is also where you're going to give it just a little bit of room for all that turning and folding under that you're going to be doing. So don't make it flush, like perfectly flush with the center back and the zipper teeth and stuff. Move it over just a smidge, just to give it a little room, okay? So just move it over just a little bit and then snip. Then take it real quick. Fold this back in half this way. So you have it around, you have your snips on the top. Fold it back in half and then fold it in half again, the opposite direction. And that way, now you can see, okay, I have all the little snips, and now I can just snip through all the thicknesses of the waistband, all those little edges. And you're saying you can snip because that seam runs through both sides. But what side seam is, you have one snip on one layer. The second, third, and the fourth layer of that waistband edge, you need to make your side seam snip because they should be the same on both sides. And then the same thing with the back. You're going to snip through the second, third, and the fourth layers, okay? Then fold it all and get it back like this picture. And then go ahead and repin the center front. Remember to pin the edge of the waistband that's not had a seam allowance stitched on it. So it looks just like this picture. You should have your seam on here, your fold there, and then your free edge with no stitching on it here. You're going to pin in those spots. So your center front, your side seam, then you move it over just a stitch. And then do the same thing for the other side, the left side of the skirt. Now also pin it on the right side of the skirt. Okay, so center front should already be pinned. Then your side seam and then your center back. Okay? Now after you do that, let's see here, what was I showing here? Okay, so something that we need to do real quickly that I forgot to do. Let me make sure I'm showing you. Yeah. So remember we cut our waistband a little bit bigger so we wouldn't have to measure it exactly. And then I said we go back and just cut to the right length later. Then I'm showing you these couple pictures. So basically, this notch here is where our center back was, the notches we just put in there. And so you come over from that a half an inch. And it would be better to do it before you attach it back onto, before you pin it back onto your waistband. So I apologize. Go ahead and draw your half-inch seam allowance and go ahead and cut it. And you can do this while it's all folded up too. So refold it halfway. So you have here refold it half and then fold it long ways so that your center front is on that folded edge. Then you have it going this way. So you should see your side seam notches that you made or snips, and then you see your center back snips. And what you're going to do, you're going to come out a half inch from that center back snip and then cut it off because that's exactly how long it needs to be. And then you'll come to this point. Now, what the picture is also showing is now I've gone through and I've sewn this edge to my waist. Okay, the waist are sewn on in all the way around to the waist. And then I also made sure to come out here so I could know exactly where my side seam, I know exactly where my seam line is because I'm going to keep that up. What I'm going to do, I'm going to fold the opposite way just down here at the end. Fold the opposite way here so that this piece comes down on the other piece, and then this piece folded up. So it's going to make like a W shape. Also, I'll show you this too. Or if you're looking at, let's see, you can look at the either side. I put my tab on the left side of the skirt. So if you're looking at the outside of the skirt here, the tab was facing back this way first. Okay. And with that waistband seam allowance sticking out here, I basically just line the tab up. The top edge of the tab lines up with the center fold here, that little fold in your waistband. And then this area that you can kind of see through the fabric, that line that's going to be your seam allowance line, is going to line up with your center back notch on your waistband. Okay. And that should also line you up just about with the center back on your skirt. Okay. And then what you're going to do is fold that down. And once you fold that down, you should have, this is the first layer. And when you come up, this is that second layer. This is your fold. So you fold it the opposite way so you can get this piece sewn. And then this is coming down. And then you have your seam allowance in. Okay. So this tab piece is tucked inside of that top fold. Okay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to sew your allowance half out. So a half inch from this edge, you're going to sew it down just top here. And top there. Make sure you're back stitching when you're sewing too. So once you flip it inside out and you flip that piece, you flip your waistband inside, then if your tab out, you should be able to pull it, and then it look at this. Okay. And then you just try to make sure your tab lined up as well as you can get it. If you can still see through your fabric, and make it easy to line it up with the zipper teeth. When you actually do sew this, you may sew this by hand. Just kind of tack it to this end of the zipper, so that it doesn't get in the way of the zipper teeth. You don't want to sew it this close. Okay. Only thing you see on the close is your waistband. Okay. Then you can also, if it bothers you, you can cut out the underneath that's sticking out that we can see right there. Sorry, I'm all close because I'm closer. Okay. And this is what it looks on the other side. So you see I have it pinned in place. And then your teeth are still free to move like we need them to move. So yours cannot move this way with your tab behind the zipper teeth. then you may have to redo yours. And it's kind of complicated to understand if you're not doing this at the same time as me. So if it doesn't make sense, try to give you a piece of fabric and work with it. It doesn't have to be your actual skirt. Just make a little tab, a little zipper, and play around with it until it kind of makes sense. You can even pin this stuff too. If you pin it correctly, then you can just pin it before you sew it to where you can see if it flips the way you need it to before you kind of commit to it by sewing it down. Okay, and then you just go through and you pin your waistband. Make sure to push your seam allowance up into the waistband, or up into the waist, I guess you could call it, or whatever. And this is what it looks like when your zipper is closed. And like I said, you'll just take a second and tack down. That way it's not in the way of your zipper teeth. So just make sure you tack it on this end, in this little area here. Okay. And then with your actual waistband, you can go back to your sewing machine and just make sure you sew it down like 1/8 of an inch up from this edge. So you make sure you catch the front too. Okay. That's what it looks like on the other side when it's closed. You shouldn't be able to really notice the tab very much. Just like in a pair of men's trousers, you won't notice the tab there. Now what you can do with the tab, and we're pretty much done with that now. What you can do with that tab is actually go and put, what do you call it? Hook and eye back there like they do in men's trousers. So you can go and get, I think what they call the skirt hook and eye, which is flat. So you don't get this bump up underneath your skin. So you can do a skirt hook and eye there. That way that will hold the little zipper area closed. And so you don't get a gapping. And then you can just move your zipper underneath the edges. To a little center access so it doesn't show as much. And that's it. So next week, what we're going to be finishing is just the bottom of that skirt. Let me see here. Is there some more? No, that's last we did today. This is the skirt we're making. So we're basically done with the top portion of the skirt. Now we just have to make the ruffle, and we're done. Cool. So I hope this tutorial was helpful for you. Let me know if it was too hard to understand. I hope it wasn't, because this video is kind of giving me troubles here and there, being very choppy. So anyway, we'll see how everything turns out. Thank you very much for watching. And yeah, thanks. Hopefully we'll be able to do some more of these in the future. Let me stop sharing my screen here. Stop sharing. Cool. So hey, thank you very much. Here's a big version of the skirt so you can see it. That's what it looks like. And this is what it looks like on the inside. The color is really crazy and awfully blue here. Okay. So hopefully yours worked out for you if you're doing this along with me. And if I go back and kind of re-listen to some stuff, I try to make it as clear as possible. But thank you very much.